Hey everyone, I'm back with another learning video, and I'm going to teach you how to organize a meaningful, engaging, empowering project-based learning experience in 10 minutes or less. But first, what's the reason for this video? The reason for this video is that a lot of us are designing learning experiences, but we're designing those learning experiences in environments that we're not comfortable with. For example, a lot of us are in the remote learning environment. Some of us are in a hybrid learning environment where we have some who are learning at school and some of our learners are learning at home, or all of our learners are at school and then for a period of time they're also at home. And really a lot of us are struggling, and we had to shift everything into an online mode. But that doesn't mean taking everything that we do in person, worksheets, tests, and everything, and just dumping it online, because guess what? Learners aren't going to show up for lessons that look like that because it's not engaging and empowering them. And we have to be even more engaging or empowering when we have learners online, because we're competing with so much content online. And the way you do that is by organizing a very sound project-based experience that's meaningful and authentic and really addresses a real problem or challenge. So that is a little of my spiel on the soapbox as to why. Now let's get to how. First off, I want to show how typically project-based learning experiences are organized. And I'm going to draw just a very straight line, because a lot of times, unfortunately, our learning and our teaching is very linear. We have a subject, and I'll pick a subject that I had to teach for 12 years. As a teacher, I'll take the subject of government. Now we have a breadth of knowledge that we have to teach with government. We might have to teach how governments are formed, what kind of laws they make, how powers are divided within government, what the different types of government are. And what we do typically as learning designers in silos is we will plan all that content and we'll plan to deliver it in a very didactic kind of manner. And there's not really anything guiding us other than we needed to teach this content, and how can I make that somewhat fun for my students? And so, we organize it. I'll just use abbreviations. This L is for lesson. We'll have a lesson, we'll have maybe an activity, then we'll have a quiz. Then that might be one of our topics within government that we have to teach. Let's say it's types of government. Then we go, okay, lesson, activity, quiz. That's another section that I have to teach, maybe how laws are made in different types of government. And then we might go, okay, I might have a culminating study review. So we review all that stuff, and then we take this test, and that's testing everything that we've learned. And at that point, we've waved this carrot in front of the learners and said, look, this might not be fun for you now, but guess what? At the end, you're going to take all this knowledge and you're going to put it together in a project. Now, I'm saying this because I used to teach this way too. At the end, I'd say, all right, kids, we learned all that stuff. Now let's take backboards and let's make presentations on our favorite types of government. In fact, I'm going to let you model and make your own government yourself. Kids love it, but the problem is that usually only lasts 2 days. We didn't use that experience to really organize how learning was structured. But the better way to do it is to revolve everything around the project. But it's not a project, it's a project-based experience. And so here is the difference. Now, instead of drawing something linear, what I like to do is show something that looks like this, okay? This is the surface of knowledge. This represents really deep knowledge, right? So imagine an iceberg. The iceberg that you don't see, the part of the iceberg you don't see, that's the depth. That's the stuff that's really holding that iceberg together. Same thing with project-based experience. You want to get learners into exploring depth. The way you do that is to give them really an authentic challenge. So we take this topic of government, okay? We're going to take the very same topic that I introduced before, and instead of teaching all this breadth of content around government, we're going to organize it around, well, what do governments do? What is something that's quite authentic? And really, what are some real challenges that governments are having to deal with right now? So you might do a brainstorm, and I'm going to put these in the corner. Right now, obviously what's on everyone's mind is COVID. There's also border conflicts, as we know. So I'll write that as well. There's border conflicts with Russia and Ukraine. There's a lot of political tension that's happening at the moment. And so we got COVID, we got border conflicts, and we also have this, pesky issue of climate change. Now, these might be some things that government is having to deal. Now, how do governments come together and deal with that? Well, here is a great way to organize things. We have something called the United Nations. And the United Nations has to come together as different countries and really make resolutions on how to address these issues. Very authentic, very problem-oriented. Let's organize learning around that rather than this huge topic of government. And the way we're going to do that is look at, well, what do the United Nations, what does it actually do? How do people within ambassadors, within the model of the United Nations, how do they think, how do they act? And then by the end of our experience, we know that they come together for these conferences. So now, instead of organizing our learning around a test and everything we have to teach, we're organizing around what kids need to know to be ready to serve as ambassadors in a Model United Nations conference. Now that is what we would typically call as the exhibition, okay? So this is your exhibition. We're gonna go backwards. If you've ever done understandings by design, this is the best way to design an experience. We're going with the end in mind. What is the outcome? And what is something people do in the real world to demonstrate understanding and to solve problems? It's that conference. How do they get there? Okay, so we have our starting point and we have our end point. Now, what I always tell people to do is go, what are 2 to 3 benchmarks? What are 2 to 3 things that ambassadors have to do to prepare for these conferences? And if you've gone to any conference, they have to really understand the issue. They have to have done a lot of research and put together a position paper as to where their country stands in relationship to the issue. They have to probably have given several speeches on the way to really kind of get momentum on what they want to pass. So these benchmarks I'm going to put here. Okay, I'm going to call this benchmark number 1, number 2, and number 3. And I'm going to write in for each of these different benchmarks, what are those things that ambassadors have to create? And I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to say, okay, they're going to have to do a speech and a joint resolution. A speech for their country and where it stands on the issue that they chose, and also a joint resolution, how they're going to work together with other countries. Another thing they're going to have to do as well is they're going to have to write a position paper. And that is, where does my country stand in relationship to these particular issues? What stand has it taken in the past? What are some maybe challenges that it face? Some obstacles in really getting to a resolution? How has it really worked together with other bodies? So this is where all that research kind of takes place in that position paper. And again, if I'm working back to get to this particular milestone of a position paper, they probably have to do have chosen a country and really looked at what their country is all about. What are some of the current geopolitical tensions that they have? What are some opportunities? What's their economy like? What's the situation on the ground in relationship to these issues? And so these are 3 benchmarks. Now I want to also talk about the fact that the reason why learners are going to be engaged in this is not because you've said, guys, we're going to do a conference, it's Model United Nations. Yes, that might engage them. But more importantly, you've given them some choice as to which particular topic that they choose. Now the choice can come in which topic they choose. The choice can also come into which country that they're going to represent as ambassadors at the conference. So a lot of choice and voices coming in to really engage our learners. So once we have these benchmarks put into place, students are going to really go in depth in one country and understand that issue. They're going to put together a position paper. So not only have we helped them understand government, we've also helped them understand a lot of the other factors that are at play. Because if it comes to climate change, they're making a resolution, but they have to understand the science as well. So we have our subjects that are interweaving naturally. And what I always tell people is that simple structures are going to beget complex results. And rather than trying to put everything in little activities that don't relate, have a simple organizing structure, a real opportunity for students to do something, meaningful in a real way, and then align the milestones and benchmarks that students are going to have to produce according to that. That is a simple structure for project-based experiences. Now, when you decide to plan all your lessons and you look at the content that you're going to have to teach, you can fit it in nicely in this little diagram. So for example, if you have to teach how laws are made or created, that's perfect when it comes to creating their resolution. If you have to teach research skills, primary and secondary research skills, well, that comes in here when they have to do their country presentation. When it comes to how you organize and present arguments in a logical way, well, that comes in the position paper. And you know what? Why not, for good measure, give them a debate or some practice beforehand before they get to the actual speech, so they actually know how they're going to work together with other delegates. And guess what you're covering there? You're covering a lot of English content as well. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it's under 10 minutes. I haven't even checked it yet. And I hope this helps you to redesign learning experiences to make them more meaningful. My last provocative question to you is this: how will you take what you have learned and apply it to the learning experiences that you design for students to make them more engaging, authentic, meaningful, in real world?